SFL, Innovative Logistics Experts.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I'm just going to give you an outline of how we'll be conducting this session so that you know when to pose your questions as well. So we've divided it into 4 sections, and the first section will be giving you an introduction to robotic process automation. In the second section, we'll be discussing how you can implement RPA in your logistics company, and then we'll be playing the live demo of RPA, a data assistant. Finally, we will be opening for the question and answer session. If you do have any questions in the meantime, please type it into the chat box and we'll be happy to address them during the Q&A at the end of the session. So just to start with a quick introduction of what RPA is, it is a software that is used quite a lot in other industries, but we thought it would be good to run through what it actually means for logistics businesses. And as you can see over here, it's very much a technology that is used when a manual process is in place, and that manual process prevents you from having complete system automation. And so when you have the challenge of an information flow and you need to, for example, like in rates and tariffs, where you need to manually populate your rates and that ends up taking quite a lot of time, RPA will then take on that process so that you have complete automation from step A all the way to step C or D, for example. Just in terms of how you can identify areas of automation, if you look at the heat map, which we'll play right now, you can see that there's different areas of automation within logistics that have high potential and some that have medium potential. We'll be sharing this with you after the webinar as well so that you can assess it for your company. And then we'll also be having a free consultation session, and we'll be sharing a link so you can book that session, and we will go through this with you in person to make sure we identify what automation potential exists in your company and how it works for you to help bring you the benefits and values that RPA technology does. And you'll see that shortly in terms of the case study that we're going to discuss next. You see here, we've decided to pick the case study of DHL, which is a freight forwarder that everyone is very accustomed to and aware of. And why DHL chose to automate or even eliminate their repetitive time-consuming tasks was to free up their internal resources. So this way they were able to empower their employees to provide the best service for their customers and partners, and also bring a higher level of employee satisfaction. So they removed the mundane, repetitive tasks that can often be a bit frustrating, and they were able to allocate more exception management related tasks and higher value tasks. And impact it has had in DHL's business. So in terms of their freight forwarding arm, it's actually helped a lot. It's reduced almost 50% of the resource required to perform that particular task. And so in their pilot study, they were able to reduce the number from 15 to 30. If you look at the workload they've been able to do is 300 FTEs currently done by the robot process, and they were able to get an ROI in 1 month. So just to understand a little further what RPA means for your logistics business, I know we've discussed this in terms of a case study for DHL, but we've also organized a few questions that we will be going through so you can get a better understanding of what it means. And for this, I will ask Danushka the first question. So Danushka, how feasible and necessary do you think implementing RPA technology is for independent freight forwarders, especially given that, RPA is sometimes considered to be a very expensive technology, and they may not have the same resources that multinational companies like DHL have?
Thanks, Imrah. Good question. So that is actually a myth we have among many organizations, not only in the logistics or freight forwarding. Many industries think that automation or RPA is only for the big guys who has a lot of resources and a lot of big processes. But it is not. Any company, any industry who wants to bring more efficiencies into their processes, they can go for the automation and for RPA. So it is the way that should look at it, and the way how you start it. So because the tools and the technology you use for RPA and for automation is now becoming cost effective, and you will find many resources, trained resources available to do that for you. And it has become a case where it's giving you faster ROI. So a mid-scale forwarder can easily scale up their business with the use of tech enhancements and technologies like RPA, and in return provide the positive customer experience and gain more businesses and bring more value to your logistics. So it is no more case about the size or the industry.
Fantastic, thank you. And Ikram, what's the main objective for SFL to offer alternate software solutions to freight companies, and why SFL is positioning RPA technology?
Like Danushka said, I think we as SFL have a back office center, which means that we do data entry for our customers using CargoWise exclusively. And that small scale team is what we had. And we decided to experiment with robot processors and to really see, is it feasible? Is it scalable? And we took on some old customers who we were doing manually, this data entry processes, and we identified two processes. Those two processes will be the bot, which we will demo later on. But we saw that it is able to automate our own team, which is a back office, and bring in more value, bring in speed, and bring in different results. And because of that, we thought we'll explain this to the freight forwarding community, specifically targeting the medium to smaller size companies that are independent, which are most of our clientele.
And in terms of market conditions right now, they are quite challenging. How is SFL assisting its customers in adopting new technologies like RPA, especially given that many of them have already invested in ERPs and other tech solutions?
Yes, exactly. And that's where we've got two models. So the first model is where a company would look at SFL as a back office center. And what we have done is whenever we take on a client, we always see is their automation, because we work with CargoWise exclusively. And even prior to doing a back office work with the client, we really spec, is there a need to outsource this? Why don't you look at the automations available in CargoWise? There are gaps, the automation doesn't work. And these are coming more from the time of where the data needs to be entered once, right? So the system does have a seamless flow of data, but the market conditions right now are also leading to quicker digitization. And one of those trends taking place is to completely avoid doing even the data entry of a shipment or anything at all. The company's expectations and ambitions are to automate right from the time they get an email. So what we have been doing is to provide that flexibility to clients. Number one, the model we have is we've invested in these robot processors, and when we engage with the client, we discuss, and we would do that for them and offer it as a shared service. The second option is if a client does want to take control of the robot process and manage it themselves, we are able to identify the processes with them. And if it's not one of these two bots, we're able to custom build something and then give it to them. So we come up with two options for the client to choose from.
And just in terms of redundancy of staff, I know a lot of companies, they do value their workforce. Redundancy is not, of course, the first option that companies would like to do. Having said that, cost is also important. So Danushka, maybe if I can ask you, what does implementing RPA mean for companies thinking about their workforce? Does it support a digital workforce? Do you see it as replacing their existing workforce? And how can companies implement it effectively in their organization?
So any organization bringing in technology, in that case, not only RPA, any technology. So we bring the technology to enhance the resources and bring efficiency. So we are going to bring efficiency to the workforce implementing RPA. Every day, the repetitive tasks like data entering or uploading an invoice or following up some data. So if that person, that valuable human time, if the company can use it for more value-adding or income-generating tasks, that is the benefit that you bring with the use of RPA or automation. This will help the human employees to dive more into more value-adding and deep tasks in the company. And to do this, to bring in this, you have to do it in a more kind of a process, in a systematic way, where you have to identify the processes where to be improved, and you need to understand what are the processes which are actually repetitive and not value-added, and also to find the correct partner, like working like the SFL and like companies that know about the process as well as the technology, who will definitely can help the organization. So these are bringing the demarcation. This is where the human intervention stops, and this is where the robot will take over. Examples from my personal experience from the mid-scale forwarders who implemented RPA, especially during the lockdown and the pandemic situation, where the human resources cannot come physically to work, but the work, there was no stopping of the work took place. So this is what you can bring in, as the value. So it is not about getting rid of your staff, it is about optimizing your staff.
So thank you, Ikram and Danushka. Let's now play the live data assistant demo. We'll start with the rates and tariffs demo so you can see how the RPA bot works to feed in information to CargoWise.
I'll directly dive into this demonstration of the data assistant, the robotic data assistant by SFL. So as you can see on screen, it is a sample sheet sent by a shipping courier. and has a few familiar columns or data, example the ports, the different container sizes and the respective rates. As you can see, there is a variety of container sizes in this specific sheet, and there are combined rates as well. So this has a decent amount of rows. So what we are trying to do today is try and use this robotic data assistant to push this data to CargoWise minimum human intervention. Going into it, first we log into the data assistant platform with a username and a password. I type my information, log in, and it appears. And there's a couple of components in this. To start with, it'll be the first process of the data assistant, the Excel automation part, where we select the specific shipping courier and convert the original rate sheet into a format or Excel format that is acceptable or compatible with CargoWise. So when I click on this specific shipping carrier name and load the original rate sheet sent by them, it takes a couple of seconds to generate two different sheets. And let me just open one of those to see what's in there. So we'll start with the field sheet. So as you can see, it has converted all those rates or the ports into port codes. That's how CargoWise accepts all those ports. So the conversion is done. All the currencies, the container sizes, all are separated into different rows along with their start and expiry date. So this is the ideal format that CargoWise accepts data into a bulk upload. So that's step number one. And then there is another sheet that's generated by the data assistant, which has the cubic values for each of the container sizes that were defined on the original sheet. So there's all the rates on the first column, the port loading and the destination, then the size, plus finally the start or the expiry or validity dates. So it's in a different format here because the conditional or the cell formatting is different. So as you can see, it has the start and end dates. Next, what we do is go to CargoWise, open a new rates and tariff section, import the data. So what happens here is we import the first sheet that was generated by the data assistant. Let us look at that right now. And yes, the field sheet, open. So next we map the required columns to the columns on CargoWise. So it will depend on the customer to customer. In this case, we are capturing the origin, destination, mode, currency, container classes, service levels, and we import all this information as a bulk upload or a bulk import to CargoWise. So as you can see, it's all uploaded except for the rates. So adding these rates has been a time-consuming effort. So once I let the data assistant take over, it captures all the data from that cubic value sheet and updates the rates row by row for each port code. And if it's a sheet of maybe 1,000 lines, it'll take about 20 minutes to complete this entire exercise. And that's about it in terms of this demo. Thank you.
Just to add to that, Imrah, that was the bot we did for SFL and the rates and tariff sheet. And just from a time point of view, that 1,000 rate lines used to take a back office staff 8 hours to do, and it completed the task within 20 minutes once the process was run. And for that particular client, we had 8 rate sheets, which we were doing manually, and we had huge time saving when we deployed the RPA process. So that was just one example.
And I think in terms of just a summary of the capabilities of Data Assistant for rates and tariffs, as you can see here, it speeds up your populating the advanced wizard, automates entering rates for each port pair, and complete 1,000 entries in 20 minutes. We'll now move on to play the live demo of our Data Assistant for accounts receivable.
Hello everyone. Now I am going to demonstrate the details follow-up process that we have done for one of our CargoWise customers. If you need any clarifications, please feel free to ask at the end of the demo. For the demonstration purpose, I am sending the command to the bot to start the process. Otherwise, this process runs automatically based on the schedule that we have defined. As you can see, I have kept the email folder open remotely on the right side of the screen for clear visibility. In a moment, you will see the bot reacts quickly and process the Excel amalgamation and formatting very fast. Now, you can see the bot opens the CargoWise system and logging in automatically. Sometimes it takes a little while to load the CargoWise application so that the bot waits until the main window is visible. Here you can see the bot navigates into the statement menu and opens new statement of account form to feed the codes. These data codes are actually taken from the filtered Excel sheet done by the bot just before logging into the CargoWise application. Actually, the filtered Excel sheet is made out of the weekly data report received by the bot from the CargoWise system. Now you can see the bot is extracting the statement of account sheet for each and every data in the filtered Excel sheet. At the same time, you can see the SOA emails are receiving on the email inbox. The reason why the bot sends the SOA email to himself is that it needs to forward them into multiple email accounts which has not defined in the CargoWise system. This customer had a customized workflow so that we did the automation accordingly. When the retrieval is completed for all the debtors, the bot reads an external email address database relating to each data code and forward the respective SOA email to the customer with necessary to and CC email addresses. Before forwarding the follow-up email to the customer, bot make sure to add a personalized script on the email body and then send. This is how the final data follow-up email looks like, which I sent to the customer. So this is the end of the demo. With this automation, the customer was able to reduce the staff involved in this process by 50% and save the time by 80%.
On a concluding note is as well that for companies that have multiple branches, you might have a credit controller in each branch following its particular debtors. If you do look at an assistant bot like this, you can centralize that function, again, leaving free time for those data collectors to really follow the ones that are painful, the ones that really don't pay. Because sometimes the time consuming activity is actually sending out those statements even to clients that are paying properly. So that can be eliminated completely, but the data controller can be focusing on, following on painful customers or even complicated invoices and, things like that. So the benefit is to, whilst it's summarized here, from my point, what we've seen is a company is able to centralize its data control and collection through a process like this.
And the automation takes place across email, Excel, and CargoWise One automation. So it's a complete system automation, and there's zero human intervention required there, like Ikram said. We'll now move into the question and answer session. So if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box, or you can ask them in person as well. We will unmute you to ask the question. The question is, how do you start the process, and from where does it work?
The automated process that we did for data's follow-up process, actually, it's a very straightforward. I mean, whoever the customer that you who want to take up that automated process does not need to, have much complex technology, I mean, in terms of infrastructure. So anybody who actually wants to have that process can initiate the process automatically through the cloud itself. Otherwise, the process can be run on a timely basis based on the schedule that each and every customer wants. So it's a very straightforward and cloud-based architecture. I mean, as long as the workstation is up, so the process can be run without any interruption.
Thank you, Chizyuka. And the next question was regarding costs. So it was, do you think investing in RPA does more to reduce costs than outsourcing or offshoring to countries like India or Latin American regions, maybe Brazil, for example?
Yeah, of course. Irrespective of the country, I think RP is something that we can always look at, and the solutions that we provide as OPEX model, always the companies are having the opportunity to start their automation journey in terms of their CargoWise automations. They can start with a very nominal amount. I think Vikram had more, values on that. That's where the companies can start the automation.
Yes, to add to what Chizyuka said, Imrah, I think everything is going on SaaS basis, software as a service. So RPA or robot processors is also going in that direction, and we as SFL have taken that route through a back office model. So there are various ways to do off the cuff, developing a robot process for an automation by buying the software, then by putting it on the server, developing the application, recruiting the staff could cost somewhere close to $5,000 to $8,000 minimum. So for the solutions we've built already, we're offering it at a fraction of a cost as just a pass on to our clients to make sure that they get automated as possible. And in terms of choosing the country, I guess, yes, the other advantage with the software is that it's called data assistant, which means that the model again we have is we allow you to get a user ID and password, and your staff can use it on their desk. It's all cloud-based. They just need to download the software, and if we've mapped out the process like the rates and tariffs or the debtors controller, they can take control of the whole process as well. It doesn't have to be dependent on SFL to do the entire running of the program. And the last point is, as Chizyuka pointed out, it does all the tabs clicking inside CargoWise and able to extract data. So during this was all done by us during the lockdown time, and was the two processes we identified. But again, from our existing customers and the audience today as well, is if you have any process you would like to discuss, if it is possible to automate, more than welcome to take on that and do it as a partnership model to try and come up with a solution for you as well. All of us have spent a lot of time investing and training our staff. A lot of the staff are in the company for a long time, and we'd like them to grow with the organization. So sometimes what holds them back is these data entry repetitive tasks. So really freeing their time and giving them this kind of an assistant will be able to extract their experience, making sure you deliver a higher value service to your customers.
So it says for RPA or AR mod, do you already have this module ready to be implemented, or does it need to be adapted and a lot of programmation is required?
In terms of it, it's ready to deploy. In terms of time frame, Chizyuka, you'd like to jump in on the technical side?
Yeah, of course. It's readily available other than, a very smaller level of minimum level of customizations depending on a specific requirement unless otherwise. So it's readily available. I think in order to do those little customization, that won't take, more than 2 weeks.
And also the rates and tariffs module is plug and play.
For carriers that we've already mapped, the deployment time is a week or less to give it to you. In these countries specifically right now is USA and Australia. So we are seeing some of these areas where the labor cost is high to deploy and outsource and offshore. So this is why we've started with these two countries at this moment. Data assistant. So it's supposed to act as an assistant to a staff who's operating CargoWise. And from that point of view, again, we try to make it as personalized as possible on site rather than off-site mentality. Sometimes, you have challenges internally in a company when you say we're going to offshore. People always think, how are they going to do it? There are going to be communication gaps, things like that. But data assistant, all those concerns can be overcome.
We've got one on the chat as well. So do rate sheets need to be standardized by the carriers, or can each of these be different? Also, could this take Excel sheets that we ourselves have created?
Yes, so there is a one-time mapping needed for the carrier rates. If we're talking specifically on the rates and tariff sheets which carriers are sending through, they do need to be mapped as a one-time exercise. So in case the vendor or a shipping line or a partner changes it, we do need to remap. But again, that remapping might just mean a small correction in the formulas used. So in part of our monthly maintenance package, we do cover maintenance. But yeah, if there's a drastic change in the format, we do need to remap. But again, just to point out on that, for the US and Australia, we've already done this mapping on maybe about 7-8 carriers, and which are the major shipping lines. So there isn't even going to be a mapping request because, again, from the US and Australia point of view, we've seen those carriers standardizing the formats, and that's something which clients can take advantage of as well right now. These are the carriers we've mapped, and the client is free to use them on a SaaS-based way. So there is really no development time, and in terms of deployment, it takes a week just to make sure you get the right login ID password and arrange the commercials and all sorts of things.
All right. And in terms of the Excel sheets, does it take only pre-configured Excel sheet?
If you have an Excel sheet, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be the carrier's sheet we map. You might have a format of your own, which maybe you've taken out the carrier data, you put it in your own one, and you want to circulate it. That can be easily mapped in this robot process and deployed.
In appreciation of your time, we organized a free consultation, which is worth $350. And during this consultation, we'll be doing a blueprinting to understand what your organization needs are and where RPA can come in and assist your company in automations. We've also issued a very special discount that we're running till the 20th of December. So please take note of that code. It's SFL/DA/2020. And that can be availed through an email on connectwithus@softwarelogic.com. And this is a one-time discount. So if you would like any help with the RPA and this is something you're keen to get into, I would recommend just using that discount code in the email. And we'll also be emailing you a guide to explain to you what is RPA, how can it be employed in your business. We'll be giving you a sheet that you can use to assess your business requirements, because not only can we do RPA bots for rate and tariffs and accounts receivables, we can also create bots for other processes that your business may require. And we will sit with you to help you identify that if you do need it. And with that, I'll end the webinar. Thank you everyone for attending and have a good day.
Thank you for watching. To stay ahead of the game and for more content like this, don't forget to hit that bell icon and click to subscribe to our channel. SFL Software Logic is dedicated to supporting and elevating logistics businesses through technology. Powered by CargoWise One, our ecosystem comprises of consultancy, implementations, and support. Our mission at SFL, we believe in constantly challenging how things are done, to create opportunities for us and our partners, and ultimately collaborate with us to stay ahead of the game. SFL Innovative Logistics Experts.